nominate Honorable Tajuddin Abbas.
I so second.
I rise to humbly accept the nomination.
Is hereby declared the winner and returned elected as the Speaker of the House of Representatives.
The recent introduction of genetically modified crops in Nigeria has raised serious questions, mostly about safety.
Lawmakers call for the suspension of genetically modified crops over safety concerns.
The Price Control Board have left her responsibility to the marketers.
And House urged federal government to set up price control board to check inflationary trends. Hello and welcome to House Ticket. As usual, we shall educate you on the workings of the House of Representatives, Federal Republic of Nigeria. In our lineup today, lawmakers react to the wrong perception of some sections of the public on its position on the implementation of the Cybersecurity Act as amended. These they did when they debated a motion on that matter. There were other matters of urgent national importance, motions from the other paper, as well as bills at second reading. These and other legislative business in the last 1 week make up to this package of House Ticket. Please join us again after the break.
The House will pay priority attention to participatory budgeting process and delivery, law reform, electoral reform, women's participation and inclusion in governance, among others.
Welcome back. On Tuesday, 14th May 2024, plenary did not hold as the House lost one of its members in the person of Representative Isa Dogonyaro, representing Abra Garki Federal Constituency of Jigawa State. Plenary was adjourned after a minute's silence was observed in respect of the late lawmaker.
May his soul rest in peace. Regardless of background,
Speaker Abbas Tajuddin called on the family of the late lawmaker who were at the gallery to observe the brief proceedings of the day, bear the loss with strength and dignity, and ensure the continuation of his legacy.
We extend our deepest condolences. We share in your grief and honor the memory of a husband, father, and a patriot who gave so much of himself to the service of our dear nation. Today, as we mourn his untimely passing, we also celebrate the mark he left on our hearts and our nation. Let us honor Honorable Isa Dogonyaro by continuing the important work to which he dedicated his life.
The Speaker also announced that a date for a valedictory session in honor of the late lawmaker will be fixed and communicated to his family.
It's valedictory, where they will come and be admitted into the chamber for us to interact with them properly.
Wednesday, 15th May 2024, several motions and bills were considered. The sitting was presided over by the Deputy Speaker, Right Honorable Benjamin Okeze Kalu. For highlights of proceedings last week, let's take our next report as compiled and presented from our studio. Do stay with us.
Honor and glory. So help me God.
The House on Wednesday 15th and Thursday 16th May 2024 deliberated on several matters that needed urgent attention, one of which was a motion moved by the Minority Leader, Representative Kingsley Chinda. It was on the urgent need to correct the wrong perception of some sections of the public on the House of Representatives' position on the implementation of the Cybersecurity Act as amended.
What we have said is that no Nigerian is supposed to be taxed under the Cybercrime Act. There are specific organizations that benefit from the cyberspace, and those are the organizations only that ought to pay that levy. There is need for us as a House of the People to continue to correct this impression in public space.
The lawmaker called for better enlightenment and orientation of Nigerians by the relevant government agencies on the matter. He further called on the relevant committees of the House to ensure compliance.
Mr. Speaker,
several lawmakers made their contributions to the motion.
we cannot be here discussing implementation. It falls under the rules of the executive. That is the fact. These laws were made by us, and these laws followed the whole 9 yards of lawmaking, which includes public hearing. It was advertised, and we invited the public, and the public agreed that cyber war is going to be more strong than the war fought with arms and weapons. And the earlier we prepare, the better. In a situation whereby the central bank or the office of the Attorney General insisted that these taxes should be transferred to the common man, to the public, Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleague, myself and you and all the members here will come back and amend the relevant act to make it clear that Nigerians should not be victims of this tax. Nigerians are crying about subsidy removal. Okay. They are crying about daily additional taxes.
The general quagmire on this law was caused by the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation. He's the chief law officer of this country. I think they should have come by the issuance of that memo by the CBN. They should have come and give the Nigerian public the clear interpretation, the clear position of that law. But they kept quiet.
Once there is an attempt to abuse the law that we made, it is necessary that we take a clear position. And that is what I have called on us to do today. Now, if in course of implementation, we find out that the implementers, that's the executive arm, is abusing it, we'll come back to amend it. But we cannot, at this stage, amend by way of motion. All we are doing is to caution the executive arm. This is the content of the law we made. In course of execution, do not tax Nigerians directly or indirectly. If we find out that there are indirect taxes, it is justified for us to come back here and amend the law and see how we can improve on what we have done.
The motion was voted on, adopted as amended, and referred to the House Committees on National Security and Intelligence, Justice, as well as that on electronic banking.
Those in support of the motion as amended, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it.
Another matter of urgent national importance that came up during plenary was on the urgent need to put an end to the shortchanging of the Nigerian economy by the exportation of raw materials and importation of finished goods back into the nation.
Enhancing the country economy.
It was moved by Representative Rufus Adeniyi.
The House equally note the indisputable fact that the Nigerian economy, like that of most African countries, is characterized by export of raw materials and the import of finished goods. The House recognizes the impact of this over-dependence on imports on the Nigerian economy, leading to a lack of control over growth factor and vulnerability to external economic conditions. The House is concerned that the economic model encourages sustenance, sustainable living, discourages growth and development, fosters hardship, poverty, disease, crime, and undermine nationalism and loyalty to the state.
In his prayers, Representative Adeniyi called for the establishment of the proper environment to start processing raw materials for export, and that the relevant committees of the House should pursue this and ensure compliance. The motion was voted on, adopted, and referred to the House Committees on Commerce and that of Trade and Industry.
Those against, say nay. The ayes have it.
Moving on to motions on the order paper, Representative Mukhtar Tolani Shagaya moved a motion titled, Need to investigate the introduction of genetically modified crops in Nigeria.
The recent introduction of genetically modified crops in Nigeria has raised serious questions mostly about safety, regulatory oversight, and the potential impact on the country's biosafety and ecosystem. The House is aware that genetically modified foods have been created to contain almost anything, including genes which have higher levels of toxicity and negative long-term effects on human health. The House is further aware that the National Biosafety Management Agency, NBMA, has been accused of approving the introduction of GM crops into Nigeria without following due process and scientific protocols. The House is also concerned that these GM crops are being introduced into Nigeria at a time when the said crops are being banned in several countries like France, Russia, Germany, China, India, and a host of other countries in Europe due to safety concerns.
The House, after consideration, resolved to urge the federal government to suspend the introduction of newly genetically modified crops until an investigation by the Committee on Agriculture Production and Services is completed and the findings are made public. It also urged the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, to cause the already introduced genetically modified food and crops in Nigeria to be properly labeled to safeguard consumers. It then mandated the Committee on Agriculture Production and Services to conduct a comprehensive investigation into the introduction of GMC in Nigeria by the Biosafety Management Agency, assess the potential health and environmental risks associated with GMC, and report back within 4 weeks, and mandate the Committee on Legislative Compliance to ensure compliance. The motion was voted on, adopted, and referred to the House Committee on Agriculture Production and Services for further work.
It's being put. Those in support of this motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Still on notice was a motion titled, Need to Awaken the Price Control Board of Nigeria to its Constitutional Responsibilities. It was moved by Representative Jesse Oke-Joe.
The House knows that the Price Control Board had left her responsibility to the marketers, now responsible for the increasing of prices and commodity with impunity to the detriment of consumers and Nigerians. The House recalled that the Act establishing a governing board known as the Price Control Board is responsible for the overseeing and enforcement of price control regulation. The Act also established for each state a committee to be the Price Control Board to advise and assist the board on the implementation of this Act, and without outcome as the board is inactive. The House is concerned the trend of leaving the price of commodities at the mercy and discretion of marketers is affecting the most low-income earners and also increased crime. As individuals are unable to afford to purchase at exorbitant price, which will result to other means to live. The House is disturbed. The Price Control Board of Nigeria has taken no action to make the menace of daily price increases.
The motion also had one resolution, which was to mandate the Committee on Commerce to investigate the daily increase in prices of commodities in the country at random and report within 4 weeks for further legislative action. The motion was voted on, adopted, and referred to the House Committee on Commerce for further scrutiny.
Say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Away from motions, the House last week considered and passed several bills at various stages. A bill for an act to establish Institute of Chartered Corporate and Business Affairs Management of Nigeria to provide for the control of its membership, promote and foster the practice of corporate and business affairs management in Nigeria and for related matters came up for second reading. It is sponsored by the Majority Leader of the House, Professor Julius Ihonvere. In leading the debate, the lawmaker stated that the organization is already in existence and all it seeks is the legal framework to back up its functions.
They simply are asking for the House to provide the required legitimacy. It draws its membership across the country, including some members of the House and the Senate, past and 7. And it's essentially in the world of high-tech and complex and difficult business and managerial issues to give people specialized training to promote efficiency, productivity, and service delivery, both in the public and private sectors.
The bill was voted on, approved, and referred to the House Committee on Commerce.
Those in support should say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Still on bills at second reading, Representative Tese Ugbo moved for the second reading of a bill for an act to provide for the conservation and management of Nigeria's wildlife under the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, the Convention on Migratory Species Wild Animals, and associated agreements and protocols, and the Convention on Biological Diversity, and for related matters. In leading the debate, Representative Tese noted that the bill seeks to protect wildlife in Nigeria and prevent the scourge of wildlife trafficking in Africa.
This proposed bill has been prepared in consultation with local and international stakeholders and the Federal Ministry of Environment with a view to addressing gaps identified in the current laws and ensuring that Nigeria has a strong legal framework to tackle wildlife crimes and their habitats and develop our ecotourism for the benefit of Nigeria's economy.
The bill was voted on, approved for second reading, and referred to the House Committees on Treaties, Protocol and Agreements, as well as that on Environment.
Those in support should say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The bill is...
Meanwhile, the House on Thursday, 16th May 2024 received 3 letters from President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on a request for approval of promissory note programs for Kebbi and Nasarawa states for the reimbursement of the cost of the construction of new airports taken over by the federal government. Transmission of the National Anti-Doping Bill 2024 for the consideration of the House of Representatives. The bill seeks the establishment of an independent anti-doping agency which is meant to ensure compliance with international best practices, especially in ensuring dope-free athletes for Nigeria during international sports events, as well as the submission of Supplementary Statutory Appropriation Act 2024 for the FCT to take care of some capital projects that were omitted in the 2024 Appropriation Act for the FCT.
I therefore forward the proposed supplementary appropriation to the 2024 Statutory Appropriation Act of the FCTA and trust that it shall receive the expeditious consideration of and passage by the House of Representatives. Please accept, Right Honorable Speaker, Members of Parliament, the assurances of my highest regard. Yours sincerely, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
You are still watching House Tickets, coming your way on the parliamentary channel of the NTA. We just took a summary of plenary activities for the last 1 week. Moving on, the House Committee on Finance on Wednesday, 15th May 2024, in its resumed hearing, met with the Accountant General of the Federation in order to monitor the revenue by agencies of the federal government. Chairman of the committee, Representative James Abiodun Faleke, while making his presentation, stated that the purpose of the sitting was in line with their duty as a parliament to oversight and ensure that the revenue estimates which were submitted by each agency before the 2024 appropriation bill was passed into law are met.
Because we wanted to stop this spending income without without authorization. Because we noticed that all agencies, they just spend their surplus, they spend it, and they think that it's just the standard, the normal thing.
In her presentation, the Accountant General of the Federation, Dr. Oluwatoyin Madein, who was represented by the Director, Revenue and Investment, Felix Ogundaro, said the total revenue inflows to the federal government in the first quarter of 2024 amounted to 318.5 billion naira. She said this was against a total expected revenue of 2.591 trillion naira for the year 2024, while adding that a reconciliation of the figures was still ongoing and what was declared is what is available at the moment. The Accountant General of the Federation also noted that the bottom-up cash planning policy will be adopted in implementing the 2024 budget.
The process of reconciliation can be going on for us to know what caused that difference. And currently, Treasury Revenue Direct officers from UAGF have gone out to some of these agencies to look into their books of accounts and various records to ascertain what might cause this. We've also received a statement from the Central Bank of Nigeria to look at it. I mean, comparative with the inside revenue flow to see where it affects us from. Thank you, sir.
Made expressed confidence that it will be an exceptional year in terms of revenue for the country based on the policies of the present administration. Speaking earlier, the Chief Executive Officer of the Ministry of Finance Incorporated, Murphy, Dr. Armstrong Takan, also disclosed that so far 101 billion naira have been declared as dividends by some agencies under it. He said the report presented was not comprehensive as some agencies were yet to declare their dividends due to various factors.
There are different categories. In terms of the numbers, for NNPC, for instance, they've worked on their financials and they have a draft of it, but it hasn't gone to the board yet because based on the PIA and the fact that they are registered in KAMA, there are processes before they actually declare and approve the amount of dividends that will be declared. So they have the draft report, it will go to the board, and once it goes to the board, there will be the AGM where those figures will be read, and then that will be declared, and then we can now record that as the actual dividend figures, which is part of what the law stipulates, and we would have that. For the others, for instance, if we take NLNG, we have the draft report, but it hasn't been approved by their board yet. So we have a draft of the figure, but we can't use it as official figures until it has gone through that process. Then we have other entities here that also have their draft reports, but because their boards are not in place, the boards have not approved those figures, and that's why they are not on this list.
The chairman of the committee, Representative Faleke, directed that all the agencies under Murphy should produce their annual report for the past 10 years.
At all the organizations under Murphy, you produce the annual reports for the past 10 years. Annual report. And the dividends that ought to have been paid, what ought to have been paid, and what was paid by each of those organizations. And of course, the evidence of payments, if any, by those organizations. Is that carried by the committee? Thank you.
Still on the matter of revenue generation, the committee also met with the Nigerian Agricultural Insurance Corporation. The corporation, represented by Dr. Philip Ashunze, had said out of a total expected revenue of 10 billion naira, it had only generated 70 million naira so far.
We are an insurance company, and by the time we resumed work 1st of January, all our accounts were blocked.
All your
accounts, our accounts were blocked.
Blocked?
Yes.
By?
In the CBN.
Why?
From the information we received from the Accountant General Office, that there was a directive that all accounts of government-owned enterprises should be blocked. Our accounts.
That's what prevented the revenue.
Exactly, because we do not have 1 naira to even buy fuel to put in vehicles for people to go out and market. As an insurance company, we do not have captive revenue.
The committee, however, berated the Nigerian Agricultural Insurance Corporation for performing far below expectations.
I've not seen any significant change between what you did first quarter 2023 and what you have done in 2024.
It is a revenue generation agency, not a service providing agency. So if it is not generating revenue enough to catapult on day-to-day running and also making profits, I don't see the need for it to exist.
As an entity, insurance entity, why can't you push to get more subscribers, to make more income? Because the way the whole thing is as if you are not even doing anything.
Thank you. You may take your leave.
Here now we end the program for today. Hope you've been brought up to date with the activities of the legislature. The program comes up again next week on this same station. Till we meet again, bye for now.